Okay. I'm going to do this half mask here. The foam filling. I gotta find my little popsicle sticks. Alright. That's my wife over here helping me. She's a little camera shy, so what we're gonna do, foam fill the Ryan Strickland half mask. So I'm gonna have her stand off to the side and hold this for me. What I gotta do is measure out the foam first. Remember, we're using 2 parts of Polymer Planet A and B foam. You put your A in first. You put just so much, just a little bit. Only one little bit because it's a half mask. This doesn't need to be a full thing. Alright, you ready? Let me get this thing open. The whole thing I hate about this thing is stupid. No, I can't. There it is. Son of a bitch. Got to open these containers with a pair of vice grips because they'll stick. You can't get your containers open. Take a pair of vice grips on the tops, like so, and pop it off. That's the thing about foam when you have 2 parts. Sometimes one part will seal a little bit. So, we'll do that. Alright, now we're going to pour the B in here. We're just going to pour so much in there. About that much. Okay. And stir it up. Put the lid on here. Doesn't activate until you start stirring it. Alright, now you're going to have to hold that with both hands and cup it a little bit like so. Right there. Alright. Put it up a little bit over to the middle of the camera. Thank you. Stir your foam up real good. Now you want to drizzle this stuff in the middle. You want to get it good in the middle. Now don't move. That's the one thing you cannot do is move while this thing's being foamed up. And you pour it in the middle. Kind of go in a circular fashion all the way down. Kind of coat the bottom part of the middle of it as well as you can. All the way around. Because you remember when this stuff rises and it sets, you can always use more if you need it. And since I don't have the form for this, the mold, I have to improvise and use my wife to help me get the right shape and everything for it. So what we do is we just let that stand, just stand there and let that rise up, tilt it to the front, just look, there you go, right there, perfect. Because that's going to rise off the back and I don't want it to overflow, I want it to kind of, there you go. And then hold it steady as you can. Don't move it, don't move it, just leave it like that. Just leave it like that, because you got the perfect, don't press in. There you go. What we want to do is we want to have it outward like this and kind of hold it out a little bit. And what doesn't rise up and set will always it will always, and you want to let it do its thing. Try not to disturb it too much. And what doesn't rise up and set, you can always put on top. So, I have to let this firm up. It's easier to have her hold it and help me with it while it's setting up. So then I can set it down once it's solidified and it doesn't lose shape and form in the front, and just put more on top. And thankfully Ryan did a fairly thick pull on this thing, so it's easy to do. I'll just show you guys this thing right here. There's still some areas where I've got to go in on the sides and kind of firm it out and make sure it kind of comes up on the sides. Because this is going to be a display one hanging piece. Just put that bubble wrap in a box. That box behind you. Oh, you want to put that on top. Okay. My wife has the idea to set this bubble wrap down and use it as a cushion, which is an excellent idea. I'm glad I married such a smart woman. Look at that. See? I can't always think of things by myself. Sometimes my wife helps me. And unfortunately, sometimes I don't give her the credit she deserves for it either. And yes, I'm saying that because she's standing right beside of me. Otherwise, she's going to get mad at me for not saying that. Yeah, she put a thumbs up. So, confirming definitely she will get mad at me if I don't say it. You'd be surprised how many ideas she comes up with that I come in and kind of run with, and they're actually her ideas. Oh, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? Well, I never thought about that. I'd like to do it. You'd be good at doing this, you know. So some of these things that I make, she actually has the ideas for, believe it or not.
We can always turn it the other way around.
Yeah, yep,
Turn
almost
upside
set up right there. Perfect, perfect.
Okay, you done with me?
Yeah, thank you. Now once that solidifies, I can mix up another batch here. Of course, I'll need another cup. Always good to have two hands when you two people when you can get it. Let me see. I've got more cups down here somewhere. I just don't know where they all are. Son of a gun. I might be out of cups. I may need to go to the dollar store and get more. Oh no. Let me see if I got it. I do have cups. I have Dixie cups over here. Usually I use a plastic cup, but I can use a Dixie cup for this one. I don't really like using these for much more than paint stuff, but I run through so many plastic cups, it's insane. Now Dixie cups, you can mix either or base of the heavier stuff. You know, usually we start out with the light ones and then put the dark to it. With a Dixie cup, you can do both, either or, first, because it doesn't really matter. And that's firm enough that I can add more to it. Only problem with this is I have to gauge it by sight rather than being able to see it wholeheartedly in the mix. So mix up another batch. Now the reason I had her hold it was because I didn't have the form. Ryan Strickland made this one, so I did not have the form that it came in to do it in. Now I'm just going around the outside of it and pouring it, so it will, and then going right across the middle to fill it in. Trying to do that as evenly as possible. Get the best distribution crosswise as I can. Now the risk that you run with this in doing an open face back foam filled mask like this is it will run out and over whatever. If you're not on your game about watching it foam and do all that stuff, it will run out over the sides. And if you're not careful, that'll adhere to the front. It does peel off, but it leaves a sticky ass mess. A really sticky mess. There again, I'm just moving it around to the sides. It's already foaming up and coming off the back. So I'll just stop the bubbles and push that back up in there. You don't really want to disturb it, but in order to keep it from running out and getting all over the place, you have to stop it at one part. And let that foam just kind of push it back up a little bit. It'll stop the rising of it. And yes, it will break down. But there again, kind of want to let it go over to the sides a little bit. Stick it on the sides. What I do is just push that back up just a wee bit with a popsicle stick. You can always shape and take that away when you're done. You can Dremel that off and all that, but the thing is to keep it from flowing over the edges and try to stay as within the parameters of the mask as you can. So there's still a little bit on the sides, but that'll be firm enough that I don't need to add any more. I can just put a nail in the wall. When I get done painting, put a nail in the wall and just stick it right on the nail. And that's how to hang up. That's exactly how the Bayou Bad Blood hangs up. So I'll just set this down and let it firm up. Make sure it doesn't stop rising, it stopped moving. So I don't have to worry about it running over now. And it's still within the same contours of the mask to face. So, and then while it's still soft, you can take your hands and fingers and gently shape it if you think it's misshapen. Just gently push the edges, and it will stick to the foam. But you don't need to do it too much, just very lightly. Let me turn this around. flip this around, we'll see it from this side. Here you go. So see, I had to come down from the bottom where it was running over and stop it with a popsicle stick. And now there's just a little bit here, but like I said, that's not going to be that much of a deal. That's not that big a deal because it's all pretty much solidified. The trick is when you pour it, you want to pour it in the middle and make sure that you make like an area in the bottom, straight up and down and around the bottom to fill that, let that rise, and then just pour the residual stuff on the sides. So that way you can foam fill it completely. And so now it's starting to harden. It's not quite cured, but it's, even if you think that you've got it where it's going to go over the top, like on the top here, if you don't like this when it hardens, you can always take a Dremel or something and Dremel that off. I personally leave it when it's a little bit like that because that's more room to stand out from the wall when I put a nail in there, and I'll just hammer a nail up here like I did this one. Hammer a nail up and just shove it right on there, and it goes right on the nail, and it'll be somewhere in the middle. So that works. And now all I got to do is just leave that to be cured overnight, and then we're going to paint it up. And of course I'll just lay it over, just flip it over, lay it on some cardboard or something like that, and paint it, you know, from the top. So that's pretty much it. Just thought I'd do a little thing on showing you guys how to do half mask and foaming without a mold. And the trick is if you have something like this and you have the general shape of it, have somebody hold it first to make sure the general shape is kept. Put in a little layer of foam, let that set, and then go around the outside and foam it up. And that's pretty much it. So thank you again for watching. I appreciate it very much.